For a decade, my relatives dismissed the business I had built as nothing more than a pastime, while every available dollar was poured into my sister's medical education. Then, during the dinner celebrating my brother's graduation, I pushed the title deed of a fully paid condominium across the table toward him rather than her and watched my parents' quiet scheme to empty my accounts fall apart in front of the entire family. I am Melissa Carter, 34 years old, and this account begins on an evening when I was buried under blankets. I was down with the flu when my mother telephoned. Her tone was sharp and transactional. "Your sister's final tuition installment is due," she announced. "We're a little short, just the remaining portion, $20,000. I answered that the amount was hardly a little short. It equaled a down payment. She shot back at once. "Don't overstate things. This concerns Vanessa's career, not that small application project of yours. Surely that internet venture of yours has extra funds available." That small application project was a company I had launched from a garage at 24. By this point, it employed 15 people, operated from a 20,000 square foot warehouse, and shipped products to 30 countries. To them, it remained a punchline beside my sister's white coat. I told my mother I had no surplus cash to spare. The statement was untrue, yet the boundary mattered more than honesty at that moment. She ended the call abruptly. Minutes afterward, my sister messaged, labeling me selfish. Then her fiancé, Derek, joined in, cautioning me not to create complications. That single word lingered. Complications. It was not one isolated, angry message. 3 people had contacted me within hours, as though the pressure had been coordinated. So I telephoned my financial advisor, Monica, and asked her to examine my parents' finances discreetly, along with my sister's records. Her findings arrived the following day like an explosion. My parents had refinanced their home 2 years earlier and secured 3 additional loans. Nearly $400,000 in total, all co-signed by my sister, who had pledged her future earnings as security. The supposed tuition payment was not for tuition at all. It had already been settled. The money was needed simply to cover interest and stave off default. There was still more. Years earlier, my father had received a formal reprimand for recommending unsuitable investments to elderly clients. His professional license had barely remained intact. His income had not. My sister's prospective salary had become his final safety net. Worse, buried inside her academic files were grading irregularities, examination answers that matched those of other students. If the matter became public, her entire degree could be invalidated. They were not supporting family. They were extracting value from me and using my sister's future as the tool. I did not wait for them to act first. I texted my father and proposed a meeting at his office. He addressed me as sweetheart, still convinced I was compliant. In his office, surrounded by photographs of my sister and none of me, he proposed a family fund. "Combine our assets," he said, beginning with the clearance of her debts. I asked him directly, "You expect my profits to settle her loans?" He flinched, then insisted that family supports family. I replied that a difficulty existed. My company was not available for his use. 80% of it rested inside an irrevocable trust, structured solely for growth and inaccessible to anyone, including me on impulse. His expression drained of color. He accused me of acting in secret. I reminded him he had never once valued my work enough to offer advice about it. He threatened to turn my brother against me. I invited him to do so and to tell the truth, that I had shielded my company from the disorder he had created in his own affairs. That same night, I contacted a broker and purchased a condominium for my brother Marcus. Paid in full, registered solely in his name, located near his new workplace. He had spent his entire life quietly eclipsed by our sister's brilliance, never requesting anything from anyone. If one member of that family deserved a gift without conditions, it was him. The voicemails arrived rapidly afterward. My mother weeping about lack of gratitude. My sister shouting that I was envious and concealing wealth. Derek cautioning me to dissolve the trust, or he would set my brother against me. I preserved every recording as evidence. At Marcus's graduation dinner, my mother lifted her glass in a toast to Vanessa, our future physician, once again pushing my brother's achievement to the side. I rose, agreed that families ought to support one another, then slid the folder across the table to Marcus. The deed to a condominium, paid in full in his name alone. Silence settled over the table. My father muttered under his breath that the money had been intended for her loans, confirming everything in front of the whole gathering. I set out the facts calmly. The $500,000 in debt, the professional censure, the grading irregularities that endangered my sister's degree. My mother shrieked. My sister turned pale. My father struck the table. Marcus opened the folder, looked up with damp eyes, and asked whether it was all true. Then he left the room. I followed, and for the first time, someone in that family inquired whether I was all right. The consequences arrived swiftly. My parents defaulted and lost the house. My father's license was revoked entirely. My mother's standing disappeared. My sister was dismissed from her residency once the cheating came to light, and with ruined credit, she ended up in a low-paying rural clinic, bound to debt for decades. Derek left her within weeks. One message arrived from my mother months later. Your father is unwell. Assist us. I blocked the number. Today I sit in my office, surveying the enterprise they spent 10 years dismissing as a hobby. No shadows remain behind me. Only what I constructed, finally secured, finally mine. The end.